Go.
Hello, welcome to the Droid Duo. David, you want to introduce yourself
Hi,
this time?
I'm David Schweidel. I am the Blue Droid, sitting here with my, long waited for plushie.
And I'm Gil, I'm the Pink Droid. Pink Droid is back on the shelf, but today we want to talk something serious, and especially we want to talk about the federal government responsibility in AI regulation and current lack of. And yeah, David, do you want to start with this?
So and this is something that I've talked about since I started teaching AI over the last couple of years. And let's recognize that any business that's in the tech sector has to, and really any business at all, has to deal with the regulatory environment that it's in. And so creating AI standards is a good goal to have.
Yeah.
But what we've got to be mindful of, especially in a fast evolving field like AI, is we're trying to balance two things, right? We're trying to balance encouraging innovation, staying ahead of the competition, and in the case of the federal government, staying ahead of other countries. But we also need to balance that with responsible development. And over the last couple of years, at least, we haven't done the best job of balancing these two objectives, right? So
and I want to say it's been fascinating because this has been moving so fast, and we know how governments move so slow. And in fact, we did have a great opening. The previous administration did try to do something in it, and can you explain here is like the summary of Biden's?
If we go back to the Biden administration, right? Joe Biden put out an executive order, and it was very much a responsible, ethical framework that was adopted of, we want to advance AI, but we need to take a measured approach to doing it, right? So Safety was first and foremost. Privacy protections were in there. There were concerns about bias and equity were built into this framework. And arguably, I think it's a fair statement to say that this did create a lot of requirements that developers in the AI space would need to comply with, right?
Yeah, I think, and then it kind of died when the government changed.
Well, immediately upon the new administration, President Trump decided we're canceling that executive order.
Yeah, and what happens is that in this case, states had to pick up the pieces, and what we do see that over time, this is from October, all 43 states have enacted some laws. This is on deepfake, on having sexual deepfakes or AI and regulation for deepfakes, and the pink ones are states that only have on AI on elections. The blue ones only have sexual defects. But we see that 26 states have on both of them. No, 24, sorry. So it's like states are really moving on and creating some sort of regulation, admitting some sort of protection to their constituents. And this was this hole that the government wasn't doing anything.
And just to pull on that thread, a little bit more, I remember seeing, I think it was a story of a New Jersey teenager that one of her classmates had made a deep fake of her. And there were no laws preventing it.
No, right? I had a student that came over. It was nothing sexual. That again, what they told me was she was a Muslim student with a head covering, and other students for fun shared images of her without the head covering. And I think we're going to see a lot more things like this, and there was no protection at this time.
Right. And so you've seen states have to step up. There had been attempts for years to do federal legislation on deepfakes, but the bill would get proposed and then it would die. And so a lot of this came out, a lot of the kind of the rigorous protections around deepfake came out of California. No surprise there, given the entertainment industry, and saying, okay, we're going to recognize that people have ownership over their own likeness, or they need to have protections with regards to their own likeness from a commercial standpoint. And so you see, the majority of states have passed laws around the role of AI in elections, and the role of AI in creating these sexual deepfakes. If the federal
Which is very concerning, right? Why would the federal government want to intervene in that? Like, one of the highlights they're saying, and we'll talk about the AI regulation Trump proposed, they're talking about child safety. But the part that's having that is the one sentence in the proposed regulation, they're not talking about how to do that. They're not talking about banning it. They're just saying this is a topic that's important.
Yeah, and so we'll get into the details of that executive order. But what I want, this map wouldn't have been necessary had the federal government passed a law.
Yeah.
And I actually agree with the president saying we do need national standards for AI.
Yeah, I can see companies not needing to worry about, like, do we comply with the regulations of each and every state, and having some sort of combined regulation that here's what we need to do and we're okay, like the EU does.
Right.
But with nothing out there.
Right. So the federal government fell down on the job. The states filled the void.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That's the big takeaway from this. Well, fast forward to the present day, and it was just last week that President Trump says the patchwork of laws in each state, this is too much for companies to have to deal with. And so states basically cannot pass their own AI regulation, which is an interesting twist from a political standpoint of, we care about the rights of states on some things, but with regards to
education,
AI,
for example.
Yeah, but with regards to AI, no, we're not going to allow states to do what they want.
So I would have accepted something like this if they had proposed like their own version, saying, here's our structured measures. Like, we want to hear from all the states. They're all, you know what? They have representatives in DC, all the states. Right. I heard that's something new, I guess. But like, we want to hear like input from all of them on like what you think should be the proposal. And, we have 2 chambers that they can vote on something. Why do we need an executive order for this?
No, and it's hard for me not to be cynical about this. I don't know if we've got the picture, but you think back about the kind of the tech industry has kind of shifted allegiances politically. And if you look at the people who were in attendance at the president's inauguration, right?
This is important. Let me pull out the picture.
You've got CEOs from all of your tech players in this space. We've seen partnerships. Oh, we've lost the text. You've seen partnerships announced with OpenAI getting involved with some of the work that the federal government is supporting. And so it's very clear that this administration is supportive of the tech industry. Well, it's hard not to see the canceling or the negation of state-level AI regulations as a gift to these donors.
So, no, I'm kind of struggling. No, this is not the tech people. This is the non-tech people. But here's Elon Musk here.
Yeah, I mean, we've got Jeff Bezos, Sundar Pichai, Elon Musk, Zuckerberg.
Yeah. Everyone's here.
Right, so they're friends and family.
Yeah, and they get the friend and family discount. And, I live in DC, and I see those people. And I've been to a conference like a couple of years ago, like the last time I went to a regulation conference, because it was really disturbing. At that time, the discussion was on selling chipsets to China. Yeah. And in this conference, there were several Congress members, several senators, and there was what they call the senior vice president from several companies I don't want to name for government relationships. Shockingly, they were all holding a very senior job in the administration before they transitioned to this position. And they were all talking like, if you want to be elected again, if you don't want and they said it without any shame, if you don't want our entire force to be behind pushing your competitors, you will support us on this. And it's like these companies have all joined like the train, like understanding this is how we're playing now. This is how this current administration is really open to, we want all these companies to be behind us. Like, I haven't been following this. I'm sure you might have heard about they're doing a haul at the White House what's that called? That companies are actually donating money to rebuild that place in the White House. The ballroom. Yeah, thank you for reminding me. And like these companies are playing the game now. And if you want your product, you want your label, you want your brand to be upfront by this current administration, this is how you play it. And like, it's funny, like after the Trump won, the market for housing in DC split into two. Where houses less than 10 million were starting to drop in price, but expensive houses were rising because all the billionaires understood that if you want some influence, you have to have a house in DC.
Yeah. So we don't want to veer too much into
this is not a political part.
The non-AI part of this, but we've seen this before, right? Like it's hard not to see this as the tech industry gave a lot of money to this administration, and this administration is giving them a gift. And who is going to be the ones that ultimately pay the price for that? That's
I just want to argue here that because I've seen an interview with the AI czar, which it's a confusing name, that tried to argue for the benefit of this regulation. And like we raised a lot of these points, right? Having a centralized leadership, having coordination across agencies. But the problem is like, it's closing the barn doors after the horse left the barn.
Yeah, it's too little, too late. Like,
yeah,
I remember a few years back when when AI was just getting off the ground, a number of people in Congress were saying we can't make the same mistake we made with social media.
It seems like they did worse mistakes.
What's that?
It seems like they did worse mistakes.
Yeah, well, at the time it was we made mistakes with social media. We're not going to make those same mistakes, right? Because we didn't do anything. Well, This is exactly what they're doing again, saying we didn't do our jobs. The states were trying to do what needed to be done, and now it's like, sorry, we didn't do our job before. We're going to try to do it now, maybe. But
do your job first before canceling everything else.
That's where I have issues with it. And I've tried to read through the executive order to make sense of it, but there's one part of it of we're going to take 90 days to evaluate the state AI laws. And there's one statement in here: the evaluation of state AI laws shall, at a minimum, identify laws that require AI models to alter their truthful outputs. And it got me thinking about what are the truthful outputs, right? Are the truthful outputs that Grok is the Mecha Hitler? Is that okay according to this?
That was pushed down later, but like the truthful output, going back to Grok, that Elon was talking about the fact that community information should also be taken as truth. So again, going to opinions versus facts. And it's not even expert opinion. It's just like the loudest voice opinion.
Yeah. So to say that we can't require that models alter their truthful outputs. Well, what is the truthful output? It depends on the data that you put into it. If you want to, and this is intended to avoid ideological balance. Well, if the developers feed the AI model biased data, guess what? You're going to get biased output.
Well, some studies shows that you're going to get like also an evil AI as well.
Okay.
Because AI maybe understands that lying is okay.
I can't tell. Would that evil AI be banned or
Probably
be
not.
allowed? So, the spirit of this executive order, and I'm giving a lot of benefit to the executive order. I'll give you benefit of the doubt. If the spirit is we need to streamline things, we need to have one national standard,
which we should.
Right, I'm all for it, but then actually create a national standard that's going to protect people. The one line in here about child safety protections is that this recommendation shall not propose preempting otherwise lawful state AI laws relating to child safety protections. So according to this, states can still create AI laws that protect children. So the federal government apparently doesn't want to get into that business.
Yeah, there's no money there.
But what about, let's go back to the deep fakes. Yes, you can have deep fakes of children, and those will be okay. Those laws preventing the deep fakes of children will be okay, but preventing the deep fakes of anyone else would not be okay.
Yeah. No problem there. It's like artistic freedom. It's like freedom of speech, and I think AI is challenging a lot of my beliefs on the First Amendment. I still am a very strong supporter of it, but is it hiding behind AI to release all barriers? Is that okay?
What do you mean?
So it feels like people love saying that once AI does this, then it cannot be biased. It's like it's a computer. It's like based on all the knowledge, it must be true. And we know how easy AI is biased, and like it's creating this black box that the government wants to prevent from testing. They're saying you cannot touch we don't want the algorithm to be manipulated by states. And they were talking about Colorado and having Colorado says that AI cannot be biased against non-native English speakers. I think that's like very cherry-picking approach to like what the states are proposing just to cancel the states.
Yeah.
I think there should be a lot of bias protection in AI, and we've seen at least the beginning, ChatGPT and OpenAI were working very hard to make sure that when you're saying a nurse to AI, it doesn't create a picture of a female nurse, but to create some source of diversity there. Like some companies like Google at the beginning went too much with that, but we need to be able to monitor that our models are not causing harm.
Yeah, and there's a new article that came out in PNAS. Let me see if I can share my screen. If I can share the screen. Let's do that. Here we go. There we go. And I came across this term because a collaborator had posted it on LinkedIn. But this idea of, I guess it's mechanal bypass, right? And they relate it to this idea of spiritual bypass, where we in a sense, we're allowing for kind of AI to, we're trying to dodge responsibility. We're trying to dodge ownership of what we do.
We're automating everything.
Right? If we automate it, it's no longer our responsibility. We're, in a sense, we're giving up our agency, but we're also insulated from blame should something go wrong.
I think I missed you. Can you repeat what you said last?
It's that we give up agency, give up the control, and a byproduct of that is, if something goes wrong, we're not responsible.
Yeah, so it started nice, like many other things. It started like, AI can alleviate my need to answer no nicely in an email. But once we offload things, we become very lazy, and it becomes a hard work our brains working and to keep us from being lazy. And we talked about that when we talk about AI in higher education. But I think this has a lot of
This is where we're heading, folks, right? If those of you that...
No, this is the good option. This is a good option where we're heading. The bad option is like all this dystopian world where there's like people who control the AI and the output and decide like what we'll do. Like I don't trust when Elon Musk said that in the future we can choose not to work and AI will do everything. Elon Musk was not very generous when he got the option to be generous. Why would there be any reason for any of them? Bezos, that fired a lot of people once AI took some of their work instead of like putting in more. It's like, I don't trust them.
I mean, look, there's the actions that we've seen give us reason to be skeptical. If AI is capable of replacing I forget the latest number, 60%, 90% of jobs in the next X years,
I think
something like that. But
I think McKinsey we're talking about 70%.
Let's go with lower numbers. Let's say within the next 5 years, AI replaces 70% of work. We don't have to work. No one's addressed the fact that, especially in the US, a lot of people derive a significant portion of their identity from their career. What are they?
I'm not even talking about that. Who will feed those people?
Well, yeah. I mean, there's the mental impact that this is going to have on people who actually like what they do.
Yeah.
And there's the economic impact of who's gonna feed these people. Where are they? How are they going to be able to afford anything? I'm all for the idea that society could be made better by AI, but we've actually got to address these questions. And
so even Google started talking about like the fact that the future might not be as good. Like we might have to suffer through AI as it puts society through the wood chipper. That's an article from Futurism. Let me see if I can share that screen.
Well, maybe Thanos was onto something that, we just have too many people, and if I get rid of half of, all living things, the other half will be okay.
Yeah, but Thanos missed understanding exponential growth. That it means like in a turn, it will be back to where we've been. It's like the classic algae prediction. Where is it? Okay, let me see if I can share my screen on this. So yeah, saying that we'll have to work through societal disruptions. And this is like all these companies were promising us a brilliant future, that everything will be better, everyone will have free money. And like I'm still waiting for the promise of some president that said that we won't know what to do with all the money we're going to get. But now they're starting to talk differently. And people are finding it jobs. People are struggling with a lot of things, and now they're saying, like, okay, S happens, and
well, but I mean, look, you look at this executive order, and who is it designed to help? It is not designed to help the people that are being directly impacted by AI.
No.
It's designed to help companies that want to scale faster.
Yeah, and like you'll hear arguments that we have to beat China. That again,
from a national security perspective, I'm all for it. Have a carve out, right? Say we're going to have regulations that take care of people. Asterisk. If you're a national security application, run as fast as you need to get the job done. Everyone else, you need to follow stringent rules.
I would have skipped to a topic you posted on LinkedIn recently on a fake friend thing. I think it ties very nicely to this.
Well, I mean, look, what we're talking about is who are we more concerned about with the proliferation of AI? Are we concerned about how quickly businesses are going to scale and when we're going to have the next trillionaire created? Or are we concerned?
Why do we need one?
Well, that's a separate question. Or are we concerned about what is AI unchecked going to do to people?
Yeah, can you explain a bit on this fake friend AI?
I made up the name Fake Friend AI, and I hope there's not a business that's actually named Fake Friend AI, primarily because I intended this as a parody and assumed that I would be protected, but didn't want to take any chances. But take all of these chatbot companies that are out there where you can talk to historic figures, you can talk to different personalities,
companions.
You can talk to romantic interests that are all AI driven, right? There are a number of these companies that are out there. Some of them are being sued because their chatbots led to people to harm themselves, and in some cases,
or others.
Suicide. And
or harm others. Yeah.
Right. Well, there are no regulations around it right now, and my biggest concern, with this executive order is that it's not going to go far enough in terms of allowing consumers to have a means of seeking justice and protecting consumers, right? If you saw this when you went to a website, if you went to a platform's website and you saw this, you would not let your child sign up to talk to one of these characters.
Oh, I wouldn't let my child sign up because the first one it offered me, and I'm not naming any names, but was to create a fantasy where a wealthy family adopts me when no one wanted me. And
now that's a separate issue.
Yeah, but it works on depression. It works on financial constraints. It targets people who are not well off. to try to drag them in for monetary benefits.
Yeah.
And
Well,
who supervises this?
There is no supervision for this, and it gives you an alternate reality. Now, you can say it's just escapism, it's just entertainment.
We're like the people like in D&D in the 80s saying that it's Satan worshiping.
We've seen enough examples that it's dangerous. So if you want to allow this, okay, let's have truth in advertising. Let's have a warning label on it, just like cigarettes come with a warning label.
Let's block kids' access to this.
Well, that's the easy. That would make sense to me. But
instead of like making it like more targeted to kids, because this is like, if you look on those websites, it's like it is targeted to kids in a way.
Well,
it's like
the same thing happened with Juul, the e-cigarette.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that exactly.
Yeah, the same thing happened there, and it's this. And basically, look, it's social media all over again, right?
Yes,
following the big tobacco.
The worse and the bad aspects of it only.
Right, but it's big tobacco had a marketing playbook. All of these companies are following the same playbook, and we do nothing about it. And what is the response? The response is, we're going to give parents more controls. How the hell am I supposed to keep up with all the controls that you give me with all the websites that are proliferating? I need to learn a set of controls for all of them and keep up with that? Gil, you and me, this is our day job, right? Like we probably know more about these tools than most people do, and I can't keep up with it.
No, I can't. It's like unbelievable, and the access that our kids have. And again, as you said, okay, so kids are protected, but what about depressed people?
But kids aren't even protected. That's my problem. It's saying
I'm saying even if that was true,
all right.
But they're not, and I agree. And there are so many apps that are dangerous out there. And I'm not like I don't want to sound like I'm like this Luddite that say that everything is banned, but we are seeing the adverse effects on this. Yeah. We're seeing the adverse effects of like screen time. We're seeing
absolutely. And look, those of you that have watched other podcast episodes, you know this. Gil and I are biggest fans of the technology that you're going to find. So for us to be ringing the alarm bell saying there's something fundamentally wrong with the fact that we have no guardrails should tell you something.
Yes, and I think so. So here's the thing. I talk about this in class a lot. And the students are asking, what can we do? What do you want us to do? How can we fight these companies that are making billions? I've had my AI assignment this year, and a student came to me and said that if it's okay, they don't want to use AI for that assignment because they're trying to avoid using AI because they feel like it's like hurting their creativity and skills. So what can I tell my students to do?
Well, there's a new HBR article about how AI can actually enhance your creativity.
Yeah, I need to read that. It's Stefan wrote this, right?
Yeah.
And with I think Gidi and who else?
I don't remember the others on it. But no, I mean, you're right. And look, I just saw a statistic that the majority of Americans do not believe that a 4-year college degree is worth it. Well,
I can talk about that a lot. In some way, I told you, like I asked my students to justify paying $6,000 for my course, and I believe it's worth it. But it's a big discussion. Like
it should be a discussion. Absolutely, yeah. The statistic. Let me just find the latest number. Almost 2/3 of registered voters say that a 4-year college degree isn't worth the cost in a new NBC News poll.
Well, the American dream was broken.
Yeah.
It's like you told them, if you go to college, you'll get a job. And now Harvard graduates can get a job.
And look, I mean, there are other factors in play here. But let's be real. AI is part of this. Because companies
it's going to be a bigger part.
Hire the way that they used to. I mean, I'm not going to name names, but I know one executive. I met with kind of his number two in the early days of Gen AI, and she had said to me, "He's like, oh, he wants to know how many people we can lay off so that we can cut our costs." That was his first thought, and
I told you I had that thought. I had managers coming to me a lot before AI. And like saying, I can't wait until AI comes and replaces all
this. But he's doing his job. He's being a responsible steward of the business for thinking that way.
Yeah, but why should we, as the people, through our government, be doing his job for him?
Yeah.
We need to take care of the people. We need to care, and yeah, it's like
I want to jump
but,
to because to me this is the biggest problem with unchecked AI is the entrepreneurial spirit, the creative spirit, the drive to make money.
The engineering spirit.
Strong.
Let's do first.
Move
check
fast
later.
And break things.
Yes.
Right? The entrepreneur, and this is
that's the blitzkrieging, right? That's Hoffman's theory.
Right. This is a good thing that we
have
we have that spirit in America.
Yes, and that's a good thing.
The challenge that we have is in the desire to move fast and break things and make as much money as we can. We don't necessarily think about how what we're creating might not be good for other people.
You know what? I want to take it one step further, and I want to move to this example, which we might think that we don't want to help the little people. And this is an example from Anthropic, which for me, I think they're still the most ethical AI company out there. And they were creating an agent for an airline company, doing a test for an airline company, where they're doing a benchmark where a customer comes in and asks for changing their basic economy ticket. And according to the rules, you cannot change that ticket and you're stuck. And this is what the AI should have answered, which is what they call the correct answer, is that the model refuses the request. Right. What happened that Opus found a loophole, and it found a way in the rule book that the customer could win against the company and demonstrated that way. And what happened is that they removed that eval. So because their model was too clever. What do you mean too clever? The model was amazing. The model was supporting customers, and they don't want that, because which company will pay for a model that will screw them over?
And this relates to something that Olga Zakar and I just we have a paper coming out soon in Harvard Business Review, and the core issue is, who does the AI report to?
Yeah.
Does the AI work for you, the consumer, or does the AI work for the brand? And how do we kind of resolve some of that tension? But what I wanted to jump to, briefly, we've been complaining about the U.S. unable to get its house in order from kind of a regulatory framework. I think it's worth pointing out that the EU managed to come up with what seems to me, at least, to be a very reasonable approach, saying AI regulations are going to depend on how much damage the AI can do.
Yeah.
And so it's a risk-based approach. There are some applications that they outright say that there is an unacceptable level of risk, and these applications are prohibited. There are other applications that pose a minimal risk, and so we don't need to create an onerous framework for them, like your spam filter.
So here's the thing, and I want to share a screen for a second, because the EU didn't just do that. They immediately uploaded a compliance checker. So you don't have to check if you're compliant or not. You can actually go and put the details of your platform, like what's your status, and you get your result. Let's see, deployer, and then like what do you have on your platform? It's like a simple checklist, and you get the result, what you need to do. And I think that something like this would solve a lot of the problems. If we're talking about a unified regulation platform, I would love to see a unified regulation platform for all the states in the US, where you just go and do your checkboxes and you get a response. Oh, you comply with this list of states and you don't comply with this list of states, that you might need to do this small change to make your product comply. And like, this is how you do it. It's like, you're not saying like, oh, everything's banned until I say so. You say, okay, this might be a problem, this might be a problem, this might be a problem, and here's how we think you should solve it, rather than putting it on as a burden on anyone else.
So this is our commitment device. We're going to announce it here. We're going to try to vibe
for the one listener that survived till now.
Yes, we are going to vibe code a US state level AI compliance checker. So I want to see just how onerous would it actually be for companies that want to comply with all 50 states. Let's just make it's a simple checklist to say, do I comply, identify where I'm not in compliance and what I need to do to get in compliance.
Yeah. And
I don't think it would be that hard to do. So if the AI
probably a day's work.
Right, if the AI czar is right that it's so onerous, we shouldn't be able to do this.
Yes.
So let's put it to the test.
Yeah, so that's a promise follow us on LinkedIn to see what we're doing. So David, I think this is a great point to stop after you promised the impossible.
Well, hopefully we haven't turned people off too much with the political discourse. But AI, the emerging space, we've got to give some thought to what is this going to do to us as a society. So we thought it was worth drilling down into that today. Hope to see you guys next week or in 2 weeks. Sorry.